Hello everybody, welcome to this video. It's the continuation of the previous video looking at the literary movements in British literature. So if you're just joining this video, you need to look in the playlist and watch the previous one. Everything that I go through in this video comes from Mr. Bruff's Guide to A-Level English Literature, which is available for £4.99 at mrbruff.com or amazon.co.uk. So we're up to 1650s to 1780s Enlightenment. Now, towards the end of the English Renaissance, Francis Bacon composed philosophical treatises which dealt with facts, evidence, and conclusions. These treatises inspired modern scientific methods, such as this guy here, Isaac Newton, and his Principia in 1687, which became the foundation of physics. This was therefore a time of advances in science and rationalism, and not afraid to express their views, intellectuals debated and argued, with many rejecting organised religion, instead favouring a more personal way of worshipping. The poet Alexander Pope, seen here, captured the mood of the times when he wrote, "Know then thyself, presume not God to scan, the proper study of mankind is man." The study of humans became far more interesting at this period to many than the study of God. Augustine literature flourished in the first half of the 18th century. Augustine poetry was named after Caesar Augustus, Emperor of Rome, and the English Augustines translated Roman poets from that time, such as Ovid, Virgil, Horace, among others, and imitated their writing style. Being clever and witty was now the fashion. Parody and satire became a popular method of poking fun at institutions, and a famous novel from this movement is Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, which satirises human nature and parodies travellers' tales. Alexander Pope also savagely criticised 18th century English society, and the fashion of Augustine literature ended in the 1740s when Pope and Swift died. Although poetry remained popular, much of the new neoclassical literature, which is Western literature inspired by classical literature from ancient Rome and ancient Greece, was non-fiction. It aimed, with its emphasis on facts, to be realistic. If it made people think, instructed, and enlightened them, it was considered to be good literature. It was formal, well-ordered, well-structured writing, which emphasized self-control and common sense. In England, the Enlightenment began to lose its appeal with the French Revolution in 1789. The English public was horrified by the atrocities committed by the French on their own citizens, and consequently the government took steps to avoid a similar revolution in Britain, and it no longer became fashionable to criticise society. From there then we move on to Romanticism, 1798 to 1870. After all the emphasis on realism and satire, it was only a question of time before the power of the imagination defined a new literary movement. The Romantic movement was inspired by the French Revolution, which prompted discussions about freedom, the individual, and our place in the world. The Romantics rejected the stylized language of neoclassical literature, instead experimenting with new ways of expressing themselves. They wanted their literature to be more accessible to a wider range of people, so they included popular forms such as ballads. As a reaction to the changes in Britain through the Industrial Revolution, many Romantics glorified nature. When reading literature from this period, look out for shepherds, other ordinary people, idyllic descriptions of mountains, nature, and the countryside. Much of the Romantics' writing also has a mystical feel to it, and alludes to medieval tales of King Arthur and other myths. Individual imagination was now celebrated, and the power of reason downgraded. There were two generations of the Romantics. The first, born in around 1770 to 1780, includes the artist and poet William Blake, as well as this guy, William Wordsworth, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who wrote lyrical ballads in 1798, which could be seen as starting the Romantic period of literature. Other key figures are Sir Walter Scott, Robert Southey, Charles Lamb, and William Hazlitt. The second generation was just born before or in the 1890s and includes John Keats, this lady here, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, author of Frankenstein, her husband, Percy Shelley, and the notorious Lord Byron. There was also the essayist Thomas de Quincey, who, born in 1785, falls between the two generations. Now, eventually, the Romantics became victims of their reputations as creative, imaginative thinkers. The world was changing and new writers who could describe its gritty realities were needed, and we'll see about them in the next video.